But yeah, so I've been on several podcasts, and
you kind of are doing sort of your own podcast.
Well,
right
yeah.
now.
So we do this. So if just to kind of let listeners know, myself and Kristen Foster started a video podcast, maybe a punditry news show, but more for local discussion, and it's called The Sass and the Beard, mostly because she's sassy and I have a beard.
Yes.
But you know, there are a lot of controversial issues going on in our community,
Man.
and we wanted an outlet to be able to, like, here's this information about this controversial thing, because we didn't really feel like there was such an outlet.
Yeah.
You know?
And we, I never thought, I don't know, things happen in your community. You see people go on like viral videos for this and that. Like there's these kids from high school that were on this viral video of like them trying to dial the telephone. Those kids from Clarksville by like they'd never seen the dial.
Phone.
Yeah. But man, Russellville, Arkansas is making national headlines and state news left and right.
Yes.
We have kind of become,
and not for a lot of good things. Yeah.
That's the frustrating part. Yeah. And I'm not going to get into, like I kind of said ahead of time, any of our issues, but I own a business here in town, and it's like, I was just talking with somebody earlier in relation to some business we got going on. I mentioned to you, and it's just like you can't say certain things. Like I feel like I also feel like, and we're in this, like we have that neo-Nazi controversy surrounding, so everybody's talking about freedom of speech with that. But it's like, from my perspective, I'm like, man, I can't even, out of fear of not getting, I can't say I'm pro casino dispensary. Yeah. Can't say I'm pro Airbnb. Yeah. All this stuff out of fear that's like, because we've been trying to build this building and so on. Yeah. Which hopefully that's come to a nice, smooth transition there. And we're pumped about that. I'll tell you a little bit about that after the podcast. Cool. But because we've moved like 2 steps ahead of where I talked to you.
That's awesome.
So,
well, and what's funny is, so like the next episode of Sass and the Beard, we're going to talk about spot zoning and like the differences.
I wanted to talk just about zoning. I mean, you served on the city council here locally. Mm-hmm. Like, what was that like?
So, for me originally, like when I was elected, or when I decided, so it was me and a bunch of my friends would sit outside around a fire, have a few beers and just talk about politics and talk about the world at large. And then those kind of conversations gradually get locked into, well, what about our community? And as those kind of conversations go, you start talking about, well, what's wrong with this part of the community or this aspect of the community, and you become, full of this energy to do something. And so I basically said, well, somebody needs to run for office. And they were like, well, you just volunteered.
Man, I've had people just like with raising awareness, like it's such a weird situation, because some of the people I've talked to have that similar story of like, I came to the city council or whatever because I was getting screwed over by the government. Yeah. So it's like some people have that backstory, but at the same time, I'm teaching a summer class in Civ 1 right now in the mornings. Yeah. And I told them, like, my philosophy professor we're doing Greece, so we did a philosophy lecture today. Yeah. And he would always sort of say, like, the philosopher, the sage archetype, whatever you want to call him, is never the person that wants to do it. No. And I fear people that get in, because like, man, like when we were sitting at that meeting the other day, it's like, do any of you other than me have a background in political science? No. So where's the advisory board of the political scientists at Tech helping you, Dr. Hausnick and others? Because man, it's just, I know transparency's been a buzzword, like in the community. And,
the thing, and I'm going to say this pretty much anytime somebody puts a microphone in my face.
It's gotten like that.
The only problem that, like, the City Hall has tons of problems and will continue to have tons of problems because it's got people. You know?
Me being in the people business, I get that.
But the number one problem that City Hall in Russellville, Arkansas has had for the last 10 years is they don't have anybody in charge of the message. They don't have a PR department that says, oh, wait, we're about to do this thing that might be controversial. Let's get in front of it and start talking about the benefits of it before we even have any kind of vote or we even have any kind of... But no, they either A, want to try to run it through as fast as possible under the table so nobody gets heated, or they go through this 6-month-long, year-long battle to have this discussion with random everyday people that don't have a clue about what's going on, but they heard from their neighbor who heard from their neighbor. And zoning's a lot that way, you know, and so that's what with Sass and the Beer, that's kind of what we were going to talk about was zoning. And when I got on the council, for me, like, those were the issues that I was passionate about. Like, here's this small business, here's this large business. Why do we give this large business so much grace and credit and freedom and ability, and we don't give anywhere? Like, so what, the way the system is made, the big business rarely ever has to go through
the institution,
each individual step of the process. But if you're just random John Q small business owner, you have to go through every ridiculous step. And I'm okay with every ridiculous step being there. I got to be,
everybody
has to go through. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I got to be okay with, like, cause man, on the front end, our disagreement was like, wait a second, these architectural designs are $15,000, and then this engineering firm that you referred me to used to work for the city, and this architectural firm you referred me to does all of the city work. Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to get overpaying them. I paid them. And then it's like, man, like, just things that you can't see. Like, I get how the construction companies are involved in this so much more now, because first I was like, wait a second, you want to charge me when I already have all the subcontracting lined out? So you so I was getting these numbers that were discrepancies and like the overall, but it's like, now I kind of get it. You're going to I get that you were going to deal with all that for me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like with Arkansas Tech, third biggest university in the state, if I'm not mistaken. I'm an alumni from there. The city of Russellville is using tax money, as I see it, to carry out the agenda of that institution. Think about the Glenwood Street, like the last conversation I had, and maybe I'm not correct on that, but it's like, they're funneling roads and entrances and roundabout and Tech curb and all this stuff to Tech, because Tech initiated this rezoning, so they're kind of help them carry that out. And my thing was, like, on the last when I talked to Mary the other day, it's like, okay, our street here is a part of that. So right there.
Yeah.
But you didn't put any of the funds into our street, and we're the small business, you know? So it's like, why help the institution carry out theirs?
Yeah.
But not, I mean, I know it has to stop somewhere, but we are kind of like that corner. It's like there's no other development past Massey Glass. So it's kind of like, it's not like it's really just one street.
So here's what Arkansas Tech is probably not only the third largest institution in the state, but it's also the second largest employer in our city.
Yes.
So, like, and it's not just a regular everyday hourly wage employer. It's, you know, most of the employers there are salaried, and they may have good benefits. They have all. So, like, this is a place where we want to continue to see grow, to continue to see have success in our community, because it brings in a couple $100 million worth of not tax revenue, but overall
ideas,
financial benefit to our community. And that's an annual thing. So, like, we can afford, as the city of Russellville, to work with them to take some of their ideas and thoughts and processes. But at hurting other businesses, I don't like. Why can't we all work together? You know what? Why was there not a notification from the beginning of that process to say, hey, this is what we're doing. This is how much these things would cost if you did them on your own. And we're going to be doing it already. Like, you didn't find out until you were 6 months into the process that, like, you could give some money, you know.
The contribution.
And it would, But if somebody came to you and said, hey, you may not be thinking about doing this right now, but we're going to start doing this whole thing.
Yeah.
And instead of you having to front 15, 20 grand to have XYZ in your streetscape and your, sidewalk, how about in the next 3 years, you pay us $5,000? Like, here's an amortization schedule. It's how much it would cost, per month. And then we'll take care of that. Like, I would say that most of the businesses that are in that area would have been like, yeah, I can do that. For over 3 years, like I'm still planning on being here.
For sure. And if I knew, yes. And if I knew that, like, because I think that they will, the way it looks, they may end up doing that East Street anyway. Mm-hmm. Like they did a real slap ass job of re-asphalting. I don't know if you step across the dirt road part that they didn't pave, and then you're on just like this balling ass Glenwood with like a dead end to nowhere pumping station. But it is super nice over there, and I'm just like, man, what if my streets would have been that way? But at the same time, like I get both sides of it too. Yeah. Like our frustration was that until recently we had no other viable options. So like our customer service, in my humble view, has been in the toilet for about 11, 12 months now because of spacing issues, parking.
I drove by your place, like I get off work at 6. And so I drove by through, I don't normally go home on Parkway, but for some reason I just went and I saw, and it was like people were parked all over.
It gets real weird around 5 to 6 o'clock.
And I was like, wow, no, I can really see that there's a
man. And sometimes like there was the other morning, do you know Nick Oots with Sign Hub?
Yes.
So his wife's our yoga instructor, and he's like, I have like a few people like him that are, like, it's hard for them to come to class. They're like me, like I'm diversified, but like luckily like what I do is jiu-jitsu. So like I have these executive types, I call them, that do jiu-jitsu with me, but they do all of our signing, man. It's awesome, but I don't remember. I always do this. I was like, hey, do you know this guy, blah, blah, and I forget what I was going to tell you about him. I don't know why.
Something to do with parking and sign, and you were talking to him about something.
I don't know, man. It happens to Joe Rogan too, so I don't even feel bad about it, Man, I will say though, like I've noticed this. I've talked about it on the podcast a couple of times. I have a broken rib right now, but so like I'm getting like real poor sleep, and every time, like, I've done a lot of things in my life that could potentially make you have poor memory loss or whatever, but it's always like I notice this far into the game. I'm only 32, but anytime I don't get like super excellent sleep or I wake up multiple times a night, like my short-term memory is crap.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
So I have this. I don't know if it's a condition, but I get no more than 5 hours of sleep a night.
Napoleon only slept 2 hours.
Yeah,
a night,
I mean, so to me, like but I immediately enter REM sleep. Like I don't hem-haw around about it. Like,
do you take melatonin or anything?
No.
See, I just started taking melatonin.
I'm asleep. Yeah, it takes me about a minute and a half to lay down and go to sleep.
Did you used to sleep more?
No, I've always been that way. Just
see, that's like, dude, I used to put in some hours.
Oh yeah, no, my wife can fall asleep and wake up. She does those like middle of the day naps, like right now because she's off work for the summer, and we just had a baby, so you sleep when the baby sleeps, So, but I can't, like if I take a nap, my body goes through the normal process of once you hit that hard level sleep. And so if I go to sleep for 20 minutes, I wake up and like all of this is just like raw.
Yeah. Man, I think that too, they try to order a sleep study and I just hadn't done it, but I think I might have some sleep apnea. That might be the source of my issues, but I started taking melatonin. So like now I am getting like 5 or 6, but like with this rib, like it don't matter if the melatonin is working or not, man. I'm like sitting on a heating pad right now anyway. But when I like go to turn over or something, I toss and turn in my sleep quite a bit.
Yeah.
But
how'd you break it? I'm assuming it was,
man, honestly, okay, so it's this rib over here, right? That is the issue. And I injured it a long time ago. And it's like the third occurrence of re-injury. Have you ever injured a rib?
No.
But man, like my issue is on this side. Like it's like you've heard of people's hips, like they call it an anterior pelvic tilt, I think. And like it's where your hips get off. And I've dealt with that a little bit in my low back, but this is like directly right. I was like at this like, it's like poking out, and it hasn't done that. Like I've been feeling it like it was re-injured or something, but I went and saw my chiropractor yesterday and he's like, dude, your rib's broken. Yeah. And I was just like, oh man. But I was rolling with this black belt, like, man, when I was a purple belt, so it's like over 5 years ago, because I'm a black belt now in jiu-jitsu. And he's really good. He's like this guy, his name's Brandon Quick. He owns this tournament. Like he's awesome to roll with. And man, I remember the kind of scramble and position I was in, and then just like I kind of like moved, and it's a fluke deal. Like it wasn't like he was like laying on me, smashing me. It was like more of a twisting. Like everybody thinks that like, and I'm sure it has something to do with it, but they're like, oh, you're having to do martial arts, hurt yourself. Yeah. And I'm like, well, no, actually, I just turned and coughed. And my back went out. You know, like this rib, like when it flared up, I was sitting in this chair texting one of my assistant instructors, a good friend of mine, Michael Astor, and the other sign guy in my life. And I was like, man, I'll see you at the gym. We're going to film some YouTube videos. It's going to be great. Yeah. Just like stretch, like put my hands up over my head. But like I have a really good chiropractor. He tuned me up. I'm going to see him again on Friday. So he's good too, because if there's ever anything that's outside of his realm, or like he sends me straight to the orthopedist, which has only been a couple of times, fortunately. But man, I've been healthy. Like I just have some issues periodically. Like it's always something different. Like it was like I had an issue with my neck for a couple of years, then it's like my low back, and then it's like these are the same issues everybody has, I feel like. And it's more like, oh, I need to come up with better standing, sleeping, sitting habits. It has more to do with that for me. I've always kind of, it's like, well, Ilya Gracie died and he's like 1,000 years old, you know, in his bed. And it's like, he's like got in 3-hour fights in the 50s. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And had like 27 kids. Imagine how stressed out he was. So I can definitely imagine that. Yeah. My coach always says, he's like, I don't see any martial artist in this orthopedic waiting room. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good point, dude. I don't either. Yeah. I see a bunch of people just like you wouldn't know their background or whatever, but it's just like the human condition. Like my doctor is like, yeah, you're getting old. We are getting old. Yeah. I mean, I'm 38 and I've started to develop arthritis. So like I was painting my son's room. How many kids do you have? 2. We just had our second. He's 3 months, almost 4 months now. But before, so like 6 months before he was born, we're doing all the prep work to get ready, and I was painting trim in the room, and my thumb locked up holding on to the brush. Is that like rheumatoid when you get it in your thumb like that? Yeah. And then my knees, because I played football in high school and was a terrible where did you go to high school? Ola High School. So that was that would have been before the Two Rivers and before they're no longer a school anymore. Now they've consolidated. Consolidation. Several years ago. But so I mean, it's all from just not taking care of yourself as a 18-year-old. Man, and I learned some like real hard lessons in martial arts, because like owning the school and being the coach, like the only time I get it is like I have to go to my coaches. Like, you gotta go somewhere else. I started off in a gym, but it came a certain point where it's like, we're moving, I'm opening my own thing. If you want to take those off, you totally can. I'm good. Yeah. Sweet hat, by the way. Thanks. But I learned some hard lessons just not knowing like proper methods. You know what I'm saying? Just like things that like over time you realize like, oh, this is a way better way to do whatever it is. Right. And so now it's like I make fewer poor decisions for my body, but I'm still like I have a cumulative effect of just like what you're saying, right? Yeah. And there's some things that, you know, especially someone in your position, you have to do, like from when you're training someone else and teaching to just like picking up something heavy to move it from one room to the next. And sometimes you don't have the proper straps or the proper help or like Oh yeah.
We're going to be doing stuff like none of us are going to get out of this life alive. It's really, how much contentment can you get out of it? That's pretty much my mantra. Is this something that will add or take away from my contentment?
Yeah, I've started. It's weird. I started looking at things way longer term, right? It was kind of weird once I hit 30. Like that was the first time I was like, okay, the next 10 years. Like it'd been a series of successes, like 5-year plans, and like I'm thinking way longer term on all sort of decisions I make as an entrepreneur, owning a business, or like my retirement. I mean, just like there's a lot of longer games I'm playing. And and it's stuff that's like, I showed this video the other day. Gary Vaynerchuk is like, any adults that are going around saying they have it figured out, like
totally
they're lying. And I kind of feel the same way, because like I hit that at like 30 to now. I went back to a lot of my mentors and I was like, you guys didn't tell me it was gonna be this way.
Yeah, and it makes me so mad. Like why, like people get frustrated with our generation because they think that we're this entitled group, or that we, are trophy, like whatever it is. Like, who gave us those trophies? Like, who are the people that gave us everything we like? So if we are entitled, like, there's a reason, because someone didn't teach us, So my wife and I do a lot of like young adult counseling, and some people like teach them how to buy a car, teach them how to like look for and to purchase a house, like, because
apparently we need a course on how to build a building,
or budget your daily finances.
It was kind of interesting. That's like because when we were going through the SBA part, they're like, there's this guy Nathan George, and I was like, I'm not talking to him. Just like ironically you came up and it, like, because Cody Black, he was just like, this guy, he's involved with this. Man, that's great that you do that. Like now, like that's civic duty, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't, I don't think like you do that because you necessarily, like, I'm sure it's rewarding. It's rewarding that I run a nonprofit and some things like that, and to get and do philanthropic work, but it's like, it's not that's not why you do it necessarily.
No, I like, because I want to see people succeed in their life, and we, to be able to do that, you should know that like 60% of the decisions I make are guesses, like, and I never know if they're going to work out until they do or don't. What I like about being an entrepreneur is that if they don't work out, I can change it really quick. I'm not working for some corporate firm that if I want to have a decision, if I make a bad decision, I've got to go to 6 different levels to be like, okay, this is not something we should be doing. And then you have to convince them, otherwise it doesn't change. But like, I can make this decision today because I'm an entrepreneur, and it's not going to work out. And I know that,
Yeah. And it's a unique lifestyle, man. Like and it too. So like I started last year working at USCCM as a history professor, and I never thought that it's kind of weird. So now I'm kind of like plugged into both, like this kind of corporate institution, state-ran business model that's satellite to the largest university. And it's interesting seeing that in comparison to like, and it honestly, like I look at it in a similar way. I'm like, oh, okay, well, they don't care about morale, and that affects me. So I should focus on morale in my business.
Yes,
like things like that of just little things you get a preview into the corporate world, and it's like I've never really had a job.
Yeah,
I mean, I have, like, I worked at Walmart and stuff when I was in high school, but I started like at 23. I went back to college, got my master's degree. Was building the gym the whole time, got out of college for like 3 or 4 years, and didn't teach, didn't adjunct, didn't do anything. Was just like growing my business, being a full-time entrepreneur. Core and I are both just full-time. And then I got that, so it's like, it looked like quite literally like my first real gig, but I guess you could say.
What's nice about it is that there's a regular paycheck.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, and it's kind of like what's nice about that is like, that's literally, it's almost, it's bonus.
Yeah.
Because we were making it before that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it is not, it's a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
It pushes into a place where like we have less fear and anxiety.
Yeah.
Like I remember the first time I tell a story to people that are like on the grind or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the first time, like I realized that I wasn't like poor as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like when I was just like, man, okay, great. I started crying, man, just because, not because like I don't even know how much money we have. Like Cora handles all of that.
Yeah.
It's kind of great because I don't.
Yes.
She's great at
Same.
it. I mean,
Same.
I can access it, but like there's two types of people. There's people that want to look at the funds every day, and I'm just like, I just want to make the funds every day. But like I just like when I had the realization that like because like we paid all our bills, it was like a while back, and it was just like, hey, we have this much in the account, by the way, and that was like just the extra.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh wow, like this is what, like, because I remember times like years earlier where it was like this was the goal. This is like, I remember writing that number on a board and being like, this is how much I want to make a month. Because just like, man, just the daily things like that we worry about of like, man, what, like I had to have a hernia repair like 5 years ago out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, and and luckily I had health insurance, but it was before I worked at the university, and I was still out of pocket like quite a bit, a couple grand. But it's like, you never know when something like this can come up. You never know when your gym's going to flood or the roof's going to need replaced and stuff like that. And it's just like a big, like when you haven't quote unquote made it, even though I don't even think there's that.
Right.
Like that's not what I'm equating. It's just like that shift of perspective of like, man, a goal has been achieved, and it allows you to kind of like level up and start making those longer term plans. That's what I've kind of experienced with it.
My dad talks a lot about, because he's the one that started the business. So, and when he started, it took him 10 years where he was just like, he paid a car payment and a house payment. That's it, out of the money that he made from the business.
Dude, we did that.
And like, so everything went back in. Like my mom had another job, you know, that she was working at, and that's where they had, and my dad had 2 jobs. My mom had a job. So 3 jobs were paying all the bills. But
you have siblings?
Yeah.
Quite a few.
So the business is named after my oldest brother, who passed away, and then I have a younger brother, so I'm the one in the middle, but I'm the only one that works there.
Okay. So is that like your full-time gig?
Yes.
Like basically, I mean, I kind of sensed that.
Yeah.
Dude, I'll tell you a funny story. Like, because you reached out to me like in a comment on Facebook when we were kind of dealing with this city stuff, and like, man, I should have hit you up at that point. I was just like, Corey and I just like had tried to make it without calling in favors and stuff. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, and I didn't. It was like I really like. I don't know. Like, hey Nathan, will you do me this favor? I need this favor, bro. Can you help me out? Like, dude, you were just like you stood for nothing to gain, and you're just, you know, and that's why I'm saying like civic duty too. Like, you're not even on the city council anymore, right? But you were. But you're still involved.
For me, you know what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah, because
you get to meet people. I get a different perspective on the way the city is working, you know, and because if I'm somebody that wants to do that again, which I do at some level, you know, whether it's city, county, state, like I do want to be involved because I have this civic understanding and this desire to help my community. Like, so the gain for me is learning. Like, every decision is learning process, but also like it sucks. Like, if I was in your situation, I would feel the same way. And what we don't understand about the good old boy system is that it is a system of favors. Like,
not a lot of empathy there.
Yeah, and there's not. It's this person did something, so I kind of have to do this.
I know. That's like what you just described is like, you know, what is it? The Godfather is like, you know, it's like that setup. He's like, you know. One day, and this day may never come. I may ask you for a favor. You know, like, but it's like, I don't want somebody to say that to me, you know, and I want it to be like, now, like in this situation we have, I'm just more so going to be like a diehard supporter of most of the things you do. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't like just big obligatory thing. It was like, in fact, it was like the opposite.
Yeah.
You know, so Which I think that's the way it should be.
Yeah, me too. And it frustrates me. I have this really good friend who's like, and it doesn't matter to me what anybody's political spectrum is, but I'm on the left. And I don't say that because I feel like there's this stigma, like, especially in our community, about people who are liberal, because I'm a closet want to destroy the world, or whatever. We, kill babies and all that other stuff, but the truth is, for me, it is more of a, how do I look about how money is being spent, from a government perspective. And I was talking to one of my friends the other day about, who's older, and he's not a liberal, he's pretty moderate, but we were having this discussion about like why, the minimum wage or like there's a corporate minimum wage as well, and like smaller companies, or the real discussion we were having was, is a corporation a person? Do they have the same morality? Do they have the same basic level of compassion? Well, in my opinion, they don't, because the corporation's law is literally to exist to make profit for shareholders. Like, that is it. And that's not a bad thing, but it's also not something that should just be allowed to exist without any form of rule, because then you get situations like where we were 20 years ago in the recession, almost 20 years ago, where everybody went bankrupt and lost homes, and we spent trillions of dollars to bail out insurance companies that probably
corporate socialism, as Bernie likes to say.
Yeah,
I'm all over that narrative. It's like, why? I'm so glad we don't get a ton of listens on a podcast, and if you're an enemy listening to me, you know what? I already won. But like, why are we okay? And I'm just repeating his narrative, but why are we okay with corporate socialism?
Yeah.
But democratic socialism, you get out of here with that. And man, I think I look at my dad's generation and like just being a historian and being like, I got out of high school not knowing anything about the Vietnam War, conveniently.
Yeah.
We don't like to deal with that.
Yeah.
But like, my dad is this uber conservative, and like, I don't really argue or talk politics with him, but like, I understand it because he was like coming of age in the Cold War, and like, and all of this stuff was going on, and he was a youth and a product of this very anxious, like, it's like, man, and like his dad had lived through the second Red Scare, you know what I'm saying? So it's like 2 generations of super post World War II paranoid people. And it's like, I get that. I see it as like an understanding for a lot of paranoia about socialism, because I understand. But like the other day, who Tim Kennedy is? So like he thinks that Hitler didn't, like the Russians didn't get him and all this stuff. And I'm not like getting into that, but I kind of think it too. But I mean, he does a show like Finding Hitler or something, but he released this thing and was like, there's a domino theory in that time period. It's like Vietnam. So the domino does not fall. And it's like, that is a made up narrative. Like, like we didn't stop. And Tim Kennedy, who's career military and a UFC fighter and doesn't believe that, Hitler committed suicide everywhere. He made his status on July 4th and was like, it was all patriotic. And he's like, we were in the jungle stopping the spread of communism in Southeast Asia. And I was like, dude, 1975, when the last helicopter left, that place is communist. You know, it's just like,
we didn't do a good enough job.
I mean, it's like the domino theory is like, I don't even believe it was a thing. I think it was a political agenda. I think it was also attached to like the post McCarthy era. We're talking about that today because we're talking about Athenian democracy and sophistry and like relative truth. And it's like, I started off by writing 2 + 2 = 5 on the board, and they're just like, no, you're an idiot, Brian. And I was like, fallacy of personal attack. This is about to get weird. So
when I was a freshman in college, I started my college at the U of A.
Okay, cool.
And then but I'd never been. I went to Ola, so I'd never been in a class larger than like 17 people.
Wow.
And so my intro to philosophy class, and then so when I was in college, when I started, The Matrix came out, and so there was this really crazy, like, comparison to philosophy, and then the film. And like I watched that film like 6 or 7 times the first time I saw it, because it just, my mind was blown because of the principles I was learning, Descartes and Immanuel Kant, and
yes,
like just a bunch of crazy, like the evil scientist theory, and so like some of the formative years of my brain, were The Matrix and philosophy.
What'd you major in?
All the things.
Okay.
Yeah,
right on.
No, I changed my major 6 times.
Wow.
Yeah. But most of my subjects, like in 4,000 level, are econ, finance.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
does that serve you in your
especially in the
degree?
business? Like one of my favorite classes was this class called Intermediate Microeconomic Theory. So like sounds like a bunch of hooey,
Sounds like physics to me. Like,
yeah. Well, but for me in that class, it was basically the psychology of why people buy what they buy.
Okay,
So,
that's a great topic.
Owning a retail business, like, that's a good thing to try to figure out. Yeah, what, and especially like we deal in jewelry, so like
that's a niche business,
right.
Man. I've thought about you over there several times. I'm like, I wonder how he does things. Does he sell things online? Like, what's he do? Like, do people walk in there? Do I need to go buy something?
So,
yes, I'm like,
everyone who's listening should come in and buy something. Joshua's Fine Jewelry, 310 West Main, Russellville, Arkansas.
There's your plug. I love it. Like, I like it when people have something to plug on the podcast. But yeah, definitely. I mean, but like, how does that work for? I mean, like, if you don't mind, like, explain a little bit about that.
So, like, just like anything that's industry specific, like you have to know the industry, like you have to know when are the times. So as you can imagine, our biggest time of the year is Christmas, like, because when would somebody just come in to buy something that they didn't think about pre-buying?
Yeah, it's going to be a special occasion.
Yeah, so like you walk in and we do 40 to 50% of our business in the months of November and December.
Wow.
So yeah, this is a lot of dry times. But the rest of the time we spend, so there's a huge number of marriages that happen in June.
Okay, yeah.
And then if you think about the process of life, you get engaged hopefully a little time before that. So if you think that people want to be engaged at least a year.
Oh yeah, there's 2 rings, by the way.
Yeah.
You gotta get 2.
Yeah. And so we sell a ton of engagement rings in the springtime because the animals are crazy. They get out and they start procreating, and the same thing happens with people. Like they start getting interested in each other again, and so we sell a ton of engagement, mainly like diamonds and wedding rings.
So you have like just like me, I have wholesale people I do business with. Yes. You have the same thing for jewelry, I assume, right? Or do I picture you in there just like with your,
yes, we do that. We do that too. Yeah.
Awesome.
Now we take the old style of doing things and the new style of doing things and meld them together because we have 3D technology to draw up like fully customized pieces.
What sort of software? You just have a program?
It's an industry specific program, but it uses some of the same programs that like the furniture industry or the architectural industries or like the home design, you see.
So like a CAD or something.
Yeah,
like
it's all CAD, but it has a base level program, and then there's a jewelry specific program on top of that. So it's like Rhino plus something else,
Interesting. That's very interesting.
And there are several different ones. The one that we use most often is more like relatable to the customer, so I can sit with the customer for 30 minutes to an hour and draw up something for them to see quickly, whereas if I was going to spend 6 hours working on it when the customer wasn't there, I would use something different. But for us, like, the communication is what is So you got the design, which is more modern, and then the communication about the design. So they don't necessarily have to be in the shop. Like I have a app on my phone where someone can text the jewelry store phone number, like the regular, city number.
Hey,
and
I need that app.
Yeah.
I mean, Cora needs that app. She handles all the scheduling.
Yeah.
But the little life hacks like that. I go to I'm sure you do the same thing, industry trade shows.
Yeah.
I've been to this martial arts super show like 6 times, and it's so good for just like little hacks like that.
Yeah, because you have vendors and such that are there that are showing off their new stuff. The problem that we have is, so like my dad and I have different philosophies of like management style. Not like how we deal with our employees, because we're very like, you treat them well. Like that's our management style with employees. But about like the future of business. So is having a lot of inventory going to be a good thing, or is having
I thought about that.
very little inventory?
You do more custom orders? Yeah.
So it depends on what we do. At Christmas time, it's better to have more inventory because you want the walk-in customer to find something, pick it out. But in the springtime, you want custom because you're going to make more money off of a custom piece, hopefully, because it's custom. And so they're already willing to expend more, because they want it exactly the way they want it. So it's kind of, those are the different generational qualms we get into.
Yeah. That's, I could
imagine working for your dad.
Yes. Yes. I did when I was like 18, and it was wild.
Yeah. And my dad and I have a great relationship, but
ours is like, now that I'm like a full grown up adult with my own thing going, and he's got his own thing going, like we get along better than ever.
Yeah.
But like I remember working with him, it was super, because he was like the boss at the company of like the part of the company. He was like general assembly manager for this major machine company. I worked for him, and I just had to do the most bullshit jobs ever. And I was aware that they were bullshit jobs, So I was just like, why am I the only one doing it? But it's like stereotypical,
first 10
entitled.
Years of my working life, like it literally was just doing all of the BS jobs that.
Yeah. That's man, being a business owner is I love it, man. It's fascinating. Do you think that like your current setup at the store gives you like just like a lot of freedom to do other things?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to run for office, be a city council member, like any of that.
So you ran for state rep?
Yes.
What was that like?
That was a trip, actually. Like, and I would really love to do it again at some point. The problem is, really, the time's not right now, for this area, for someone like me to get elected. Because of the letter, you know what I'm saying? Like, if most people walk in, they look at the R and they look at the D and they choose the one that they are. And very rarely does someone cross over. And 70% of the people in this town vote with the R.
Yeah.
And I got almost 40% of the vote. So I had a significant number of people cross over that line to hit that letter, but not enough to really put me over the edge.
Were you just like kind of wanting to hit that state experience, bring it back to the local government, or? No,
I really felt like there were some things that I could really help with from what kind of the things that we were dealing with in the community to also across the whole state. Like, for me, clean energy was a big deal, like solar energy.
How is Clarksville better than us?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you how, because Clarksville manages their own utilities.
Yes, this guy, I got in tune with that. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's an argument I've been seeing a lot in relation to this, with that lighting project that they're spending like.
Yeah. So there was recently a state law passed that made that easier because cities all across the state were having that issue. They were looking at Clarksville and being like, wow, they just saved $5 million on their 10-year budget back to their customers on this electricity. Whereas we, get people complaining about their water bill or whatever So if we could figure out a way for Citicorp to manage,
I haven't had good dealings with them.
Yeah,
I'll tell you. Like when we did the construction or the remodel on our other space. I mean, it was literally like the only thing we didn't do was like put new trusses in. You know what I'm saying? Like it was everything else was a total, like we stripped it down to the shell, new siding and everything. But like Brian Holstein even said, like with something like the Citicorp was requiring us to get this something new. It was like a meter or something. It's been like 4 years. I can't really remember, but it was just like, oh, they must need some more money over there. It's this is $250 extra, there's no need in you having to pay it, but they said you have to do it, so you do.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and at the time, like 4 years ago, it's like I was talking with Caleb Moore today, and he was just like, you're the most nervous person I've ever seen sign a real estate deal. I tell people about it all the time. You're so and I was just like, yeah, dude, I had no idea what I was getting into. Yeah. And I was nervous because of all of the construction we were about to undertake. And the city gouged about $30,000 on code enforcement across the board because it's like, man, all we did was a remodel.
Yeah.
And like I talked with there's an electrician, Darren Mooney, that comes in. He does a lot of work, man. And he was kind of filming me. He's like, you see here in your designs, they want you to put in this $5,000 box. He's like, you need this $200 box.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Yeah.
But they have required. So he's like, I'll handle this for you.
Yeah.
But it's just like, man.
But if you don't know that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if this one is exactly the same at $200, but you don't know, and the thing is like big developers, they do that already. Like they have people that they pay to do that, and as an entrepreneur, small business owner, you're not given the full realm of like help from
it just like, man, even buying, like, see, it forces you into this situation where you almost have to buy. Like there is, like, I was bringing that up at the meeting the other day. It's like you've made it impossible, right? Like I come to you and say I have a $250,000 budget and all of my quotes come in at 210, and you're telling me I can't do it for even close to that.
Yeah.
What's the issue here? Right. And like these unforeseen costs. I was like, here we are at phase 4. And it's like, there's things in phase 1, no idea they could have existed.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I perceived it as the smart thing to do and was getting advice. It's like, I ran the subcontracting on the remodel. So it's like, and I knew new construction would be different. I knew the building permits would be different. I knew the designs would be different. I knew some of that and kind of just came to terms with the terms on the front end. And, but man, some of the other stuff, I was just like, I couldn't even have foreseen this. Like, and so like, it just, I kind of been giving people this analogy. It was kind of like, y'all have done pretty good for yourself. You're almost gonna be allowed to be in the club, but not quite just yet. Maybe like 5 to 10 more years, you can be in the lower echelon of our club.
Another $500,000.
Yeah, exactly. It was just like, hey, you've been allowed access. Like we've opened the door, you've peered in the room, and okay, would you come back and
sit out in the lobby for a little while?
Yeah. And I like that's interesting to me. And people like it came out. It's like, well, Fayetteville or Dallas or L.A. And I was like, dude, I don't agree with it there either. It's like
it's all the same.
If people, I mean, and man, I get it's like nobody just wants and too at the same time I get and don't get, but like nobody wants just like a bunch of metal buildings around that are dilapidated. Like, man, when I drive by, there's like a few structures in like Atkins on the side of the interstate, and I'm just like,
yeah.
Man, I don't like looking at that.
No.
But it's like, I'm going into that project feeling that way about my own lot. Right. Went above and beyond on our remodel, put more siding on than we had to. We didn't even have to put siding on, and we did. You know what I'm saying? Like, we were really trying to go. And
dude, y'all's property looks nice.
Man, it does. And we would like to stay there if we could build, but I think that without going into anything further, I think we've got a way better solution.
Cool.
And if they would have like I was kind of messaging about it, if we would have had any clue that this, timing's everything.
Yeah.
And this is the only option. Like there's like a week apart, actually, this other option I was mentioned to you, and then this gymnastics place closed down.
Mm-hmm.
And both of these places are set up.
Yeah.
They're moving ready.
Yeah.
They had a similar niche business in there. And so like we may have some movement on ours. It may be, we actually signed paperwork to list it today.
Cool.
So contingent on the sale of ours.
Yeah.
Which there's a potential buyer.
Sweet.
We have that done.
Yeah.
But it's still, who knows?
Yeah.
Well, it's contingent. Like the next, it was like a 90-day period that we're in as of today. Mm-hmm. So anyway. Well, dude, I always wanted to talk to you about this because I actually first knew your name because you were in a band.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I saw you play
YouTube
a couple of times. Yeah.
And there's all that's out there.
Mart's Transportation. Did you play a show there one time?
At Bart's Transportation?
Mart's in Knoxville.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That like trucking place. Yeah. I sold that guy's orange Avalanche in 2007. I worked at Johnson Chevrolet.
So that was our practice facility.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, that warehouse, there was an office room, and they let us use that to practice inside in the air conditioning.
Yeah.
And
I need to like, if we end up going with this building, there's so many rooms in it, and we just need to like, hey, yeah, we're just going to be a band patron. I have a music room set up in my house actually. Yeah. But we knew, so like I saw you guys like when I was a kid, Nattel,
mm-hmm.
and what was his name? There was this other guy Nattel was in a band with, and they played at this thing at my church. It was when they were called First Place. Though.
First Place, yeah.
I can't remember the lines.
Oh.
His name. Who are you thinking about?
Well, Matt Elliott, who's one of the worship leaders at New Life.
This guy, I think he was in a band with somebody. His last name was Valines. It was like, man, I'm talking like, dude, I was like 13 years old or something.
Yeah,
and that's how I first knew Nattel. And then I just kind of like, because I knew Nattel, and then I was there at that March show watching my buddy John's band, Tyler Hickman, Affectus. Yeah. So John's been on the podcast a few times. I've known John forever, dude, during high school. He's a little older than me, but that's kind of, and then Stephen Caden, dude, he was we grew up across the street from each other. And then like, as we got to be teenagers stuff, we just started being friends and stuff. We were ironically both homeschooled, but we weren't really friends when we were homeschooled.
Yeah.
And dude, we jammed together a lot.
Steven just got done with his degree.
Yeah, I saw that, man.
Like, is it mechanical engineering?
Yes.
They built a car.
Yeah. I've been following him. Steven's a great guy.
Yeah.
So, and he spoke very highly of you. Just like, so like, he's one of the only people I knew you that mentioned you. Because I was kind of like, hey, dude, why'd you leave the band? And he was like, well, let me tell you about that. I was like, all right, dude, loyalty. I like it. But what were you always kind of into music? Like, just tell what's the whole story, your background with that?
There's a long story. I grew up Church of Christ. My family is Church of Christ.
Did they have instruments?
They do not have instruments in their church.
So that's why you got into singing, right?
That's why I became this. Yeah. So I could sing as a baby almost, my mom would say, like since before I could talk. I don't know that I believe that, but she's my mom. I'm not going to argue with her. And then, but mostly it was just singing. But outside of church, my dad played the guitar. My, other family members all played other instruments. My dad was in a band when he was younger with my mom. Both they, did music all over when we were young. And so I remember going to people's houses and listening to them play, music. But not until I was an adult did I ever get into a band. Mostly because I just wanted to see. I'm the kind of person that you can tell me about something all day long, but until I really experience it, I don't know how much I'm going to glean from the description because I need to kind of feel it, that experience. Yeah. And that's what it was for me. I mean, that's pretty much every situation in my life has been, okay, somebody told me about this, but I don't know what they really meant. I want to feel it. So I'm going to do it. And that's what being in a band was. And I loved the music, the style of music. I'd already listened to that kind of, I grew up on Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and like the real emotive grunge rock and roll. So, and this was like a newer model of that with digital, sounds and everything as well. Like, I thought it was a great meld of kind of everything I liked about music. And I knew the drummer, because I went to high school. Dylan was his name, Dylan Tippin.
Okay, yeah.
And
did you play at all with Hillis? Was he in the band at all when you were in the band?
A little.
Yeah, because he my doctor, they're married. Dr. Hillis, yeah. Yeah. I just I've known him in passing. I saw him on campus a while back at USCCM, and he was like, "Hey man, I know you." And apparently their kid's name is named after John Bonham.
Yeah.
And stuff. So I was like, yeah, dude, your wife's my doctor, bro. I've seen you play in this band before. Yeah. So, but I remember seeing him one time. I saw. I don't know if it was Dark from Day One then, or if it was a evolution of the band. I guess they're still together. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were they had a singer that was that had quit, and so they were having auditions, and I auditioned. The drummer Dylan told me about the auditions, and a couple weeks later they were like, "Hey, we want you to do it," and then we just traveled. It was literally I had a prep show, and then we played at Edge Fest in front of 30,000 people, and then we went on the road.
Who'd you open for?
There were several, but it was on one of the stages, so there were two stages. There was that year there was the main big stage, and then so they would go back and forth, and we were probably the second band that performed, and then it was but that was the year that Corey Taylor and with Stone Sour and then 3 Days Grace were there, and then the next year it was I don't remember who they had, Rob Zombie and somebody.
Yeah, I remember you guys. Yeah. I was under the impression you guys opened some pretty big acts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, I got to hang out with, the guys from Theory of a Dead Man, the people from Seether, just if you know the mid to late 2000s rock bands, they're pretty much any of them. Skillet, POD, Seven Dust, Theory of a Dead Man, Stone Sour. Corey Taylor's 5 feet tall. He's tiny. Yeah, and I mean, so you see him in especially Slipknot, you see him in this get up, and you can't really see how big they are. But when you get right
did you see him? Didn't he kick somebody's phone out of their hand or something the other day? He did something I don't know. Where he just got super aggressive with somebody on the front row.
Because he was super chill when we met him. He woke up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
What do you think about that? Okay, so that's become a very controversial topic. Okay, so there were people getting carted out of a Perfect Circle show at Red Rocks for filming.
Oh yeah.
Tom Morello was jamming on stage with all these people, just like a Rage song with that band he's playing with. It's the Prophets of Rage.
Gotcha.
And somebody was trying to take a selfie, and he grabbed their phone and threw it, and just went back to playing. But this is a general consensus. I'm feeling Jack White, no electronics allowed in the show.
Wow.
And I'm kind of. And then, dude, I've seen Widespread Panic about 19 times. If you can't tell, this room is Widespread Panic artwork for the most part. Okay. But there's a consensus too, other fans are talking shit about people who are oh, you're on your phone the whole show.
I see that. But if you think about, especially the generation after us, everything they've ever experienced has been through their phone.
Agreed. So that's why I kind of,
maybe 40 years from now when the apocalypse happens and we have no phones, but I mean, that's not now, it's not like that. And we can't predict that that's going to happen. No matter how many preppers there are out there, because it may not happen. It may be that we go into another level of VR technology, or you get the glasses that have the augmented reality that you see all the statistics of everything as you're walking. Imagine watching SportsCenter or a football game on television, but being there live and having all of those graphics and statistics and everything that pop up live on television but while you're there at the theater because you wear these glasses. Imagine being at a rock show and that happening.
Well, I mean, like, so like now, like I'm aware of it. I'll be at a Panic show and they have this website, like panicstream.com. Man, Widespread Panic has a catalog of over 600 songs.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I never heard this one before.
Yeah.
Like, I literally keep the set list like going. Unlike when I saw Dave Matthews, like, I'm not the hugest Dave Matthews fan. I knew like half a dozen of the songs, but like, I wanted to know what they were playing. Yeah. You know, and I don't know why I wanted to know that. I just did. Yeah. I wanted to follow the set list on my phone. Yeah. And I'm like,
people judging you. Yeah.
You know, and too, so like also like some bands, they play the same set list every night. Yeah. You know, and it's like, did they play the same? Did they play? Did they open with this? Like, are they going to play Ants Marching? That's really what I came here to see, right? You know, or whatever it is.
Or what? So. And most of like what happens a lot of times is they'll play, you know, 12 or 14 of the same songs, and then they'll throw in one new that they've got coming out on their next album, but you can't buy it anywhere, you know. And maybe that's part of it. But I had literally heard Corey Taylor say from stage, and this was back when like everybody remembers what LimeWire was, you know,
or your computer, Napster, man. There's some great memes,
or
about
you
that
know,
stuff.
like. But he said from stage, "I don't care how you get my music, I just want you to have it." Like, so he wasn't about like a lot of the artists that were like anti-digital.
Look at Tool just now going digital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And the only reason you can get the Beatles digitally is because Paul bought it back and said that's how he got the money to buy it from the Jackson, from Michael Jackson in the first place.
How crazy was that?
Because he said he would put it on digital, so the people that loaned him the money to be able to purchase it, like, knew that they would get pay if he put it on digital. Like, that's how it worked. Like, but when Michael Jackson owned it, it was never going to go digital, but now we have all this whole other avenue for people that have never heard the Beatles because it wasn't digitally available.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, I remember when because we've always had Spotify and still use Spotify for the gym. Mm-hmm. It has a Sonos set up, but I like to remember when Zeppelin wasn't on Spotify, and I was just like, oh. Yeah. And I mean, like Tool not being on there is a major hit. Yeah. Like I've been, but they have apparently they are on. Like they released their demo on YouTube the other day. The 7-2, it's like, it looks like a zip code or something.
Yeah, well, it's because it's all for them. For Tool, everything is math. Like music and math are the same. So if you listen to their music, like every 7 measures, like it changes, and like that's probably what it is. Like 7-2, whatever. I don't remember the number, but if you listen to it, every 7 measures something happens, like it changes, they add something, and then every 2 measures I've
seen people break down the math behind the songs and stuff.
It's crazy,
man. So like, check this out. A buddy of mine's been on this podcast. It's a jiu-jitsu guy, knows Maynard, had lunch with him,
sweet.
And I was just like, we went and saw a Perfect Circle in Dallas at this music festival, and he's like, dude, I'm gonna see if I can get you to a private listen with him. I was like, oh, dude, how does one act in front of Maynard, you know?
You know, here's how somebody... So, like, I've been asked that question quite a bit because I've met
just like we're doing right now.
Famous people, like, and you act the same way you would act. Like, because not like... There's obviously something... They expect a little bit of just like, you know, yes, you're a famous person, and yes, I'm a fan. Like, they expect a little bit of that. But if you really want to have a great interaction with them, you'll be yourself. You know?
For sure. Yeah. Especially like, because it's the common thing that like he does jiu-jitsu. He's a purple belt under Hickson Gracie. My dogs are named Hickson and Gracie.
Cool. Yeah. All right. So I don't know as much about the.
Yeah. Like, well, it's like Hickson is this famous jiu-jitsu personality, right? He is like most of the high level black belts and coral belts, which is like this intermediary between black and red, are like that dude. He's the one. Okay. Like he's like the Neo of jiu-jitsu. Oh. He's older. He's jacked up. His son's fighting in the UFC right now and is undefeated. But Hickson is just like this super high level martial artist, and so it's like he's like the Maynard of jiu-jitsu. Like it makes sense. Like Maynard's like, I would only do jiu-jitsu with him or somebody that does jiu-jitsu with him. So like I, through my buddy Jack, have had a lot of inroads and like glimpses into the Hickson system and style. He does privates with Hickson at his house. Wow. Dude, like ironically, Corey and I, like 2 years ago, we're in Vegas at a trade show, Hickson's teaching a seminar, one of the first seminars he's taught in a while. 200 people there. We were able to get in, and he got promoted to red belt at the event. And like out of the 200 people in the room, like when they walked in promoted, he didn't know it was happening. His family promoted him. He's like, "You come help me do this move," you know. And then they walk in, promote him while he's drilling with me. So like I'm the guy in the video that he's working with.
Oh, that's awesome.
When he gets promoted. But he's just this super high level martial artist, and like a lot of your even like celebrity type people, like the co-star from Hawaii 5-0 and Khan too, Scott Khan. Everybody, it's like a flavor of jiu-jitsu, man. It's like you want to taste that style.
Yeah.
Everybody, like, because there's like jiu-jitsu is just like music in a way, because there's like these real sport oriented people. And I actually, like, I've competed in jiu-jitsu countless times. For years I competed, and now after having done all that, I come down like way hard on like you don't want me to teach my student this move because of your rule.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, in 90% of my students are coming to me for self-defense and or fitness, and then like 10% are coming to me for sport competition.
Yeah.
So it's just a weird predicament. It's like about like, so like we have this approach, and it gets kind of talked down on, like you're teaching moves that are illegal. Like, what are you doing?
Is that what I've been seeing on your Facebook?
Oh yeah, like I comment about it all the time, because like, man, different academies are propagating just like, oh, you know, we don't do leg locks at all. Too dangerous. Like I was teaching a judo seminar at because I have a judo black belt too. I was teaching at the Bentonville gym. They're like, I mean, this gym, their mat space is bigger than my current building.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah. And
they're like, man, these takedowns is sweet. You know, we don't have room to do takedowns here. And I was just like, dude, we're doing takedowns like every day at my gym. Yeah. Like we have like two smaller mat spaces. I didn't say that, but it's just like people get weird misconceptions and perceptions about like what I was saying about training methodologies. Like I'd just be like, oh yeah, so we just spar real hard.
Yeah.
We'll be fine. You know, and then it's like, then you start E and brain damage. You're like, well, let's scale that back a little bit.
Yeah. Let's wear one of the helmets.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like you reevaluate things as you learn. I think that's.
So I took Taekwondo in the 90s as a child. Yeah. Like from first grade, because I was a chubby kid that could definitely get his ass kicked. Like, but I was also like mischievous. So like definitely needed some direction. And then the first so 3 weeks before I was going to take the black belt in Taekwondo.
Oh wow, dude, like, you made it up there.
So I was 12, like, so I don't remember much of it anymore, but 3 weeks before I was going to take the test for black belt, Desert Storm #1 happened.
Oh wow.
And both of my instructors were like Navy SEALs and like totally gone. Like they literally just left and closed down the shop. And there was, you know, back then there wasn't really anything else here, you know, as far as like another place to go.
I bet you had a good lead leg side kick. I'm just going to stereotype.
I broke a lot of boards. Yeah.
We do board breaks for our striking program.
The flying sidekick was my favorite. Yeah, I would just run up and, as a 12-year-old fat kid, I could run and jump and take down some wood. You know.
Yeah. Man, it's weird how like breaking boards is kind of gratifying.
Yeah,
like
we just feel
we do it for our kickboxing program.
Visualize an attack, like you see it and you just like you imagine that you're following through the board, and you do.
Yeah, I know. I remember the first time I broke a board. It was like right when I first started training martial arts. They were doing this thing at the fair, and like they're like all these patrons are come by just breaking boards for free.
Yeah,
I remember I broke a board and I was like, "This is awesome!" And then it's like I wanted to hold the board so everybody else could feel that way. I'm like, "Dude, break this board. Come train with us."
Well, then as I got older, like I thought about trying it out again, and I went. I don't remember where it was, but there was just like a random, they were giving out, like you go to a restaurant and they give you this free thing, and they had the plastic board.
The rebreakable. I did some of those for kids in class.
This is cheap. Like this is basically just saying you didn't want to buy a bunch of balsam wood.
Yeah, definitely. There's something about like, because we have some of those rebreakable boards, but it's so like they wear out, so you got to replace them. But like, so we can like if the kids have a testing coming up, we're like, hey, like we break this really hard when, if you can break this really hard when we feel like you can. But it just like, they can get rep. But I think the rebreakables are kind of bullshit.
Well, it just wasn't as fun. You know what I mean? Like,
it's not.
It was like, you're gonna hit this, and then
it's like, okay, this happened at a demo my coach was doing one time. You ever seen that movie, The Foot Fist Way? It's so good. It's got Danny McBride in it.
I don't know if I've seen the whole thing, but I think I've seen parts
It's super. They're demos and stuff. But like one time they were doing a demo, he said, at Hot Springs, and they did like a board break, and it broke, and like part of the board flew off and like cut somebody's scalp.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Yeah. So
they didn't do breakable boards anymore, like real wood.
I'm with this coach. I almost guarantee you they did.
Well,
he's wild.
I saw this. This was the most amazing thing for me. Like as a child, like there was a guy that was getting his 6th degree black belt. Like this was his test, and all I remember from the test was that like they blindfolded him, and he had a left and right in the air board and one directly in front of him, and he broke all 3 of them simultaneously. Like not 1, 2, 3, but
what do you do, like a jump split kick with a punch?
Yes, and I was just, and it was just 6.
That's great, man.
6 feet in the air.
Like, why would anybody talk shit about? I'm not saying anybody does, but like I grew up doing martial arts like in the MMA era.
Yeah.
So it's like I have a lot of reverence. Like, dude, yesterday I was watching all this Dan Inosanto stuff from the 90s, Bruce Lee student, like Filipino martial arts, Wing Chun. Like stuff that like I was talking with a friend the other day, and I was like, dude, this martial arts master been coming into the gym. He knows Aikido. He's just master, dude. He knows all this blade work and Kendo, and he's from the Philippines, orthopedic surgeon. Like I'm just like going over this, and I'm like, he knows all this stuff I want to know and don't know, but I'm studying. And he's like, oh, so all the fake shit. like people that have only kind of came up watching the UFC are assholes. Like dude, and I'm just hell, like if we were sitting here 10 years ago and you like brought up Taekwondo, I would have been like,
this kid, what a nerd.
But now I'm just like, damn, their sidekicks are sick.
Well, and like, you know, of course we don't need swords and shurikens anymore, you know.
Yeah, man, it's like with anything, man. It's like the closed-mindedness part of it. I've been closed-minded in martial arts. I've been closed-minded in business. I've been closed, and it's just like you throwing up the ball repeatedly, and you're just like, oh, yeah. I remember, for example, there's the spinning heel kick, the wheel kick. I remember somebody saying to me one time, and this is like 10 years ago, hey, that is a 1 in a million move.
Yeah, like you'll never connect with that.
Yeah, and then like it's like, let me pull up these 20 UFC fights real quick. And it's just like there's enough footnotes and enough digital history behind it now to where it's like we can, like what you're saying about calculating stats. You know, it's just like imagine you're like oh, it's been wheel kick. Like, oh, this has been landed in mixed martial arts competitions 728 times the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I love, I've been working on like a long-term stat project. I don't ever put in a lot of time on it, but I want to calculate the finishes and the decision, wins, losses, draws, and everything from every UFC fight. So, because then like, is like just what I do. It's like, well, the number 1 finish in submissions, it's guillotine choke, guys.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we're working on. Is our number 1 submission. Yeah. Like, you're not good at the guillotine choke. Cool. Number 2 submission's the blah, blah, blah. Right. So it's interesting because now we just have enough. Like I have a UFC encyclopedia that covers 93 to 2011. And it has all of the stats.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, I've been like working on a longer term Excel project to try and just extrapolate some data, man.
I both love and hate Excel.
Oh, dude, it is a love. I mean, I have an Excel document open right here. Like it's jiu-jitsu related. But you go over to the university side, like, man, my digital space is a mess. Like I have so many folders and documents and
I don't. I have to have it like. Have you ever picked up your wife's phone and been like, why is everything organized this way?
Yeah, I know. I just told Corey the other day, I was like, hey, if anything ever happens to me, please organize all my stuff and write a book for me. Because like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get organized. I'm just going to keep working. But there's a lot of stuff on here that is of value.
Yeah, no, I have folders for the folders. Like everything's got a folder.
Yeah. See, I get carried away with that sometimes, and then I'm like, oh, there's nothing in that. I never put anything in that folder. Crap. So I end up deleting a bunch of empty folders. But I mean, that's my email's the same way, man. It's a wreck.
Well, for me, like I wanted to be digitally organized from day one because I remembered when you had to defrag everything and you had to like, and so you was.
Are you a Mac or PC guy?
I'm a Mac. I mean, I'm a PC guy. Sorry.
Okay.
I don't like that. There's only one button on the mouse with the Mac. You know, and it's like
it is kind of weird.
I need that right click. You know, so to drop down the menu and tell me where to go.
Like I use. We have 2 Macs. Mm-hmm. We're gonna get a third one here pretty soon because this one is so old, dude. Yeah. But I use PC at work, and I go between them fine now. I don't even really notice.
Yeah, some people have no problem going back and forth. Because I'm definitely like Apple with my phones and my everything else.
And it's weird. I run into people that are like mad talking smack on iPhones, and I'm like,
how could you? Yeah,
guys.
My wife will not allow another person in a group message that does not have an iPhone.
It's like you're the wrong coder. Sorry.
And so if you ever like all the features, if you want to like something, right, or if you want to do like you can't mute the notifications if that one person has a non-iPhone.
Wow. Yeah. Nice. Well, dude, I'm trying to think if there's anything. So I should kind of wrap it up with this. Like, what are your thoughts on like our current status quo of the community being this place that has these. Which, like, the neo-Nazi thing, like, we didn't really hit on that. And I don't really, honestly, like, we don't have to. I will, like, turn it over to you in a second. But, like, we have that. We have this casino issue. We have the dispensary issue. We have these Airbnb issues. Not allowed to have those. Yeah. Like, we have all of these weird issues surrounding our town. And it's, like, it's causing a lot of anxiety in the community. Like, I was talking to somebody this morning that's on that sort of side of things. And they were like, I don't know, they just assumed I wasn't pro-casino, and I was like, oh, by the way, I'm pro-casino, dude. Oh, man, that's great. Like, you just totally acted like I was anti-casino, but...
it gave me your whole, like, show me how you don't like the people that are, and wait, you find out I am. Yeah.
And it was just like...
It happens to me all the time as a Christian and Democrat, because I go to church, and then people are like...
Are you still Church of Christ, by the way?
No, and not because I have any hate towards Church of Christ or anything like that. Yeah. It's just I like the band music. I like the instrumental music. I like singing on stage and leading people to worship. Like I enjoy that.
Yeah, I saw a video of you singing the other day.
Thanks, man.
Dude, it was nice. Like I was into it. And then you did the Star Spangled Banner recently.
Oh yeah, that was cool. Yeah, I am a Democrat and I can be patriotic. So.
But like, man, just like, and I don't think I got just based off our limited interactions, just like viewing you as a person in the community. Like, I don't feel like, like I said, I don't feel like you have an agenda.
No.
And or it's like the agenda is like art's in the right place. We need more people like this.
So for me, my agenda is if there is government, it should be working for the most amount of people, the best options for the most amount of people. Like government exists to provide the best situation for the most amount of people. And I believe that, like, I want it to be that. And so, like, in our current situation, and I feel this across the board in pretty much any issue, that it is generational. I don't think it's left or right. I think if you look at the dispensary, if you ask a person over 70 and a person under 50, you're going to get the exact opposite answer. And it's the people in the middle that you might like, so the people over 50 or over 40, like, and it's not an ageism type thing. It's more like these people grew up under a certain standard and these people didn't, and to me, I don't care if you smoke weed, but like, I know a lot of people who drink alcohol and I've known a lot of people that smoked weed. And the comparison is nowhere the same. I've always been
more worried. Like, somebody gave me that metaphor one time. Like, would you rather your kid drive past somebody that's drunk or been smoking? And I was like, definitely don't want them around a drunk driver.
No. No.
Alcohol is weird. I'm like, I come down to a weird spot on that because I think that way. I don't really drink a whole lot. I will occasionally, but it's, oh man, I've seen alcohol make people do some stupid stuff that I would like to think they would never do if they weren't drinking. I think they should still be able to drink. We have these wet counties and weird interests going on around that, but not all that. But it's like, that's way more of an issue, and that's an issue in our community too. Yeah. But
well, so just for instance, like right now there are transitional time frames. Like in our business, like my dad is getting older. He's considering talking about retiring, sometime within the next 10 years or 15. Like we haven't really made the complete decision. He hasn't, but that's his decision, like, cause it's his business. And when that happens, there will be a transition, and our whole country, our whole, state, our whole city is going through a very similar transition. You've got people who are moving out of and people who are moving into leadership, and we're taking it a lot slower here, I think, in our community. I would really like to see some 30 to 50 year old people run for office, and just because when you're 70 years old, when you raised kids, the world was a completely different place.
I know. I could see, like, I know one of the council people is like middle 70s, if I'm not mistaken, but it's like, maybe they have family and they're able to keep it real. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, and I would like to assume that instead of just automatically thinking like this 75-year-old person
it's not going to know.
But at the same time, it's like, how old's Bernie? Right. And like, and look at the narrative. Look at the narrative he is capable of producing.
Yeah.
So I don't want to stereotype like that, but at the same time, I do think it's hard for a 70-something. I think you need a spread.
Yeah.
It's hard for a 76-year-old person or however old they are to get in touch with that 18-year-old voter, that 24-year-old constituent.
I know 75-year-olds that I would be more than happy to put in charge of tons of things.
Likewise.
Yeah, and even older. Like, so to me, it's not so much about age as it is the mindset within that age. You typically find that particular mindset in older people, but there are also older people that have very open-minded viewpoints and are welcoming change. Mm-hmm. The problem is change. If you are afraid of it, then that's when the stifling happens. Obviously, with the casino, with the dispensary, with the zoning issues, with the what was the other one that I wanted to?
Airbnb.
Yeah,
well, that's really a zoning issue, I guess.
But Airbnb, it's all about change too. Like, it's about a different way of doing things.
We don't want their kind of.
Yeah, and so if we're doing this thing a different way, then all the people who are doing the things the one way are missing out. So that's a hotel issue. That's not a. That's not a concern about the community as much as it is the hotels are doing this thing the one way. And if we don't make the Airbnbs do it the same way, then the hotels are going to get frustrated. And rightly so. Like, maybe we need to talk about that. Maybe we need to talk about the fact that this tax is voluntary, but we force the hotels to pay for it. So, like, why are we doing it that way? Anyway, like, those are my thoughts behind that. Like, we need to have more people who are monitoring Airbnbs, or we need to not make the hotels pay the tax. So it's just like, we need to work that out instead of just being like, well, this is too hard to discuss and figure out, which is what we've done a lot.
Previous administration.
In the last 25 years, because the things have changed so quickly. And like, I can't imagine being in leadership 20 years ago and then like looking around and being like, they can do this now? Like, when could they do this? Or like the bird scooters? Like, those were awesome.
What happened to them?
Well, people destroyed them. Like that. I mean, that's just like, like that company didn't think about the fact that people would hate on their stuff and tear it up. So that's why, then they were like, oh God, we spent millions of dollars on this equipment and we're losing half of it, Yeah.
Which is an interesting time to be alive.
Yes,
I mean,
very much so.
It has been virtually the entire time I've been alive. But I think that you were bringing up some great points the other day, just about like, look, we're in the digital age.
Yeah.
And we can't until the apocalypse happens.
Yeah.
Or we, the rise of the machines. We're creating. We've been sent to create
the AI destroys us.
Oh man, Joe Rogan was riffing on some crazy stuff the other day. He's like, "What if we were sent here and like he's like the bee builds the hive the same every time. Like it's the same. It doesn't change. Like look at Roman architecture and what we got going. It's different. And like we're doing this. And what if we're preparing? We've been sent here to prepare. We're building the framework with this technology." And it's all and he was like this. I was just like, dude, you're blowing my mind.
Way too much Terminator, man.
Oh, I know. Like he was basically going that way with it. But he's like, it is weird how we are enabling the machines. You know, on crazy levels. You ever watch Black Mirror or anything like that?
I've seen it a few times, but I never got into it.
Yeah, and it was some of it's kind of trying, but it's interesting to see where they play on a lot of things. It's like, hey, in case you didn't think about this VR implant going this direction,
this is the way.
Check out this episode. Yeah. So they play on VR, AI, and it's fascinating to see the potential because, man, how many things have we seen in our lifetime that were like, oh, I never thought like an autopilot car, or some of the things that we're seeing, have seen
drones.
Did you see somebody shooting fireworks at this party with a drone? Like there's this big street party and somebody like flew a drone over and was like shooting fire,
dropping like bottle rockets into
like Roman candles, all sorts of
totally
stuff, dude. It was
people.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope nobody got hurt.
Did you used to have bottle rocket wars with your friends?
I shared something on the 4th. I was like, if you don't know what this picture is about, a bottle rocket war, like you, like whatever it was, like it was one of those.
My friend and I took PVC pipe and plexiglass and built bottle rocket launchers.
Oh,
yeah,
dude,
like
me and my cousin Michael, we
handles
were all over
and everything, and you just like you had lighting systems, and you could just stuff them in and just like aim. Like
we would throw M80s at each other too. That was a little more eccentric.
Run into a group of people and throw some black cats down. Yeah.
Oh man, I loved doing that. At family fireworks, I would always light some fireworks.
I wouldn't let my daughter within a mile of black cats today. Like I don't even want her to have the little poppers. Like,
do you remember the snakes, the little black thing?
Her favorite is the pooping dog. And I'm okay with that. Like,
fair enough.
She can have that. Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, dude. Well, I'm sure you got some stuff to go do. I don't have to teach until boxing in a couple hours. Cool. But anyway, man, I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
I would love to come back. And
I was about to say, I would love to have you back on. I've kind of get back in my groove on, like, I've changed the studio up so much, like trying to figure out, and then like have had to become an amateur sort of audio engineer, and I'm do this sort of similar thing with the business too. So I've been uploading a lot of videos in the last about 18 months. We're like 450.
Awesome.
So been trying to perfect, get the podcast up and going. I have a studio set up in my office at the university too, do a little lecturing and stuff with that. But hopefully if this new location, that's a potential other part is to like be able to do this anywhere I'm at.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Nathan, come over to the gym.
Yeah.
Sweet. Got the studio here.
Hey, my wife is actually taking one of your classes
today. Oh, really?
The kickboxing.
Fitness kickboxing.
Yeah, fitness, yeah.
Yeah, with Cora.
Yeah,
Cora's.
Yeah.
Wow.
Her and one of her friends are doing it. They're going to
Good,
do
man.
it
I'm glad it turned out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, man, that is such a I think I was telling you, but that's such a popular class because, man, the group fitness market is huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And because, like, a whole lot of people, they don't want to work out with a partner, but they don't want to work out by themselves.
Yeah.
And they want somebody to lead it.
Yeah.
But they don't want to do personal training.
No.
So it's like a weird, and Cody Black was like, dude, group fitness classes are hot right now. And I was like, they really are. That's why we have, like, if you don't want to partner up, you don't want to do jiu-jitsu and choke people or just punch somebody in the face, like, go hit the shit out of that bag.
Yeah.
And then let's do some burpees too, like the people love to hate burpees, you know.
Yeah.
So
and what is it, stair climbs? And,
yeah. Man, but it's a good mix, and like I remember I taught one of Cora's classes last week, and like I saw a lot of the people that were there, and they're like, I was so sore, and it's like, and here you are back again, It must have worked.
Yeah,
it's like the people when you get out of bed the next morning, it is kind of like, why'd I do that? But man, like when I see people when they leave, like they're glowing.
Yeah.
Like, did you see what I just accomplished?
Yeah.
And man, that is it. Like I get goosebumps thinking about it because it's done that for me too. And I like that's like when I think when people is like see like maybe some people even in the city is like a martial arts gym.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, we're providing something over here.
For sure.
And we have like the non-stereotypical, like we have the fitness market. We have yoga.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be expanding that big time, adding Zumba. My best friend's sister's a rock star Zumba instructor. So, but man, martial arts can be like I want it to be for adults too. Like what you're saying when you're 12, dude.
Yeah.
I still feel the same way. I mean, and you know what? A lot of people like you do too.
Yeah.
But it's just like most adult martial arts gyms are kind of weird.
Yeah, they're basically
stereotypically
angry
kids
and full of like, or they just have kids.
Or fighting.
Yeah.
And it's like like you said, that's about 10% of what we do, if that, maybe more like 5.
Yeah.
And so it's like I cater to that about 5%.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like
that's the easy part of what you do because you have that's what everybody does.
Yeah. But the fitness kickboxing, man, I'm like that's the people love that the most. So it's like we're gonna put a lot of When you need more bags, you guys want. What do you want? Let's do more of that.
Yeah.
So hopefully she likes it.
She will.
She hasn't done it yet.
Think she will.
This is her
No,
first
it'll be
one.
Her first time.
Good.
Yeah, because she's not aggressive at all. Like non-aggressive at all.
It'll be
but
good.
I can imagine that she's gonna enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, man, I will. I'll keep you posted on our dealings.
Yes.
So by I think next Thursday we're supposed to know this, that, and the other about what we got going on. So.
Sweet. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, dude, thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, okay.
We'll have to carry this on another time. So.
Heck yeah.
Signing off.
All right.